if you weren't with me a few minutes ago, I made homemade adobo, and I put it in the blender, ground it up. Looks just like the stuff that you would buy in the regular supermarket. Now I'm going to make homemade Sazon, and that has a little bit more spices in it, a little less salt than the adobo. And we're going to do the same thing. The only thing that I'm doing a little differently now is I'm going to use whole peppercorns. I'm going to ground them myself, and whole coriander seeds. I'm going to ground that myself. It's going to be a little bit more pungent of a flavor because it's not a ground spice sitting around on a shelf for a while. You can use the pre-ground black pepper or whatever color pepper you like, and the the coriander, it only comes in the seeds. If you buy it ground, it's pretty much cumin then. But anyway, so let's get started. I'm going to first show you the whole peppercorns and the corianders. Oh, and the annatto. Not everybody might have annatto in the house. It's a little seed that comes from a tree out in the Caribbean. It's basically used for coloring. There's not much flavor. This is what it is. And like I said, it's pretty much just used for flavoring. I don't know if you can see it. That's it. It's red. Peppercorns that I'm using a peppercorn mix. You can use the regular black peppercorns. You can use the already ground black pepper that you would buy. I have the big giant tubs of the spices, so if you use these, then you can, use whatever you have in the house. It's the name of the game. And this is the coriander seeds. Me and my husband use them a lot in our barbecuing recipes, but we're going to throw this in our Sazon. So here is my spice grinder. If you have a coffee grinder or whatever, you can use that. Of course, you want to clear some of the coffee out of it and give it a rinse before you throw your spices in there, and then vice versa. You don't want your coffee tasting like Sazon tomorrow morning. So we're going to throw the annatto in here, the coriander, and the peppercorns separately, and I'll show you what they look like when they come out. So first we'll do the coriander. I'm just going to throw them in. Put my cap on. Let her rip. Turn it around so you can see the other side. Okay, so I gave that a couple minutes in my my spice grinder. And just take the cap off. There's the coriander. And I'm just gonna, so you can see how powdery it is. And I'm not even going to rinse this out right now because I'm going to use this all for the same seasoning mixture. So I'm just going to leave my little remnants in there. I'm going to throw my peppercorns in next. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just throw them in, let her rip for a couple of minutes, and then we should have a nice fine ground peppercorn seasoning to add to our Sazon. Alright, let's give a little peeky poo in there. Again, nice and ground, not that long, a minute or two. The longer you let it sit in there, the finer it's going to ground, of course. But I'm also going to throw it all back into my blender once we add everything else in and give it another toss in there. Here's the annatto. Again, I'm not rinsing it out because it's all going to be combined in the same thing, so I don't need to worry about mixing up the spices or anything like that. So the annatto is just going to go in. Oh, that pepper, I can really smell it. I'm probably not sneezing. Okay, so we're going to let her go. And it looks almost like a rose-colored dust in there. It looks kind of pretty. Alright, so let's pop this cap off. Ooh. And here's the annatto. Okay, so my spice grinder I got in one of those kitchen outlet centers. It's Proctor Silex. It was probably like 20 bucks or so, not that much. I don't grind spices that often, so I didn't feel the need to get the premium deluxe models, which I'm sure are out there. It's pretty small. That's it. Here's the little cap. Once you put it on, this is the button that you press to let the blade go around, so you have to stand there and hold it. But it's not that long that you're holding it for, so all's good in the hood. So now, if you wanted to, before you added it to your blender, we could add it to the bowl to make more of a coarser ground. Here's my 1 tablespoon of oregano, which of course it looks like more because it is more. I'm multiplying my recipe again threefold. So this is 3 tablespoons, but the recipe that I'll post after this video is for 1 tablespoon of all the spices. So this would be 1 tablespoon of dried oregano. Here's the 1 tablespoon of the annatto that we just ground up fresh. 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. 1 tablespoon of cumin, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of the coriander seeds ground, and 1 tablespoon of the ground pepper. So we can just give this a good mix, and you can see all the spices are ground, so it's not that big of a deal if you don't put it through the blender. It's smelling very fragrant. I do put a little less salt than what the recipe calls for because, like I've mentioned before, I like to add it more on my plate than when I'm cooking because food just pulls in the salt, and once it's in, you're not getting it back out. So I'd rather put it on my plate than overdo it in my recipe. So there's my coarse ground or coarser ground spice rub or Sazon mixture. So I'm going to go ahead now and throw it in my blender for added refining. You don't have to do this. You can just go ahead and throw it into your airtight container or jar or plastic baggie, whatever you want to keep it in. And we're going to let her rip for just a couple turns. Okay, so my blending is done. Just take this lid off. If you didn't want to add the annatto or you didn't want to go out to the store and do it, you certainly don't have to add it. It's going to add that little deeper, richer color. It's not necessary. It's not a big flavor player, so you don't have to add it if you don't want to. Or if there's a reason why you can't, like it's a snowstorm and you don't want to go out, or you can't find it in the stores anywhere. But here's my mixture. I'm just going to throw that all over my counter. Pretty finely ground. And that's it. I think I might add some of this to my thin cut pork chops tonight and throw those on the grill for dinner, since the hard work is already done, which really wasn't even hard at all. You saw it. So I hope you give this one a try. It's fresh, it's delicious, it's flavorful, and that's all she wrote. So stay tuned next time. I've got some good things planned for the future recipe-wise, and maybe some crafty things also. So don't forget to like my videos if you're watching and you gave it a try at home. Subscribe if you want to stay up to date. This way I know to post more, or whatever feedback you want to give is cool. Anyway, talk to you soon. Happy eating.